Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ambazonians, friends and sympathizers of Ambazonians. You're welcome to the Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman on ABC TV. We are happy to have you seated again today. This weekend is a very powerful weekend. It's a strong weekend for all Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, with your friends, with your neighbors, your co-workers, everyone that you know, to share with them the humanitarian draft that is upcoming. We are here as women as well from with the Horizon. As you remember, last week the women hosted a very powerful conference on Ambazonian women for permanent peace and justice. We will be highlighting to you today for those women who could not make it and for those who would love to hear again from us, the Amazonian women, what really took place on that day. And if you have your questions, you will equally call in and share your opinion. Without taking much of our time, I am here in the studio with Ma Winnie, Dr. Lubati. She will be talking on the strong points from the women of permanent peace and justice. Ma Winnie, you are welcome.
Thank you, my Rachel. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really
Wow,
happy
Ma
to
Winnie,
be
I
on your
love
platform today.
you're welcome. I love you. You're so beautiful and shining. Thank
Thanks.
you. You're welcome. Yeah. Yes, Ma Winnie, you know you are one of the top organizers with the Women of Permanent Peace and Justice. You were doing a lot of work at the background, sitting in the team act as a woman, advocating for peace, for justice, for the people of Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, and the voice of the faceless and the voiceless woman. Today is a day we continue to highlight. Without taking much of our time, I would just like you to say what you have to say to the women out there, to the Amazonian population, what the women really mean by women for permanent peace and justice.
Thank you again. This is a very crucial and exciting times and also a sad time for us. It's a kind of a bittersweet, bitter in that our people on ground zero, ground one, the women and the children are really carrying a brunt of this senseless war that should not have been started in the first place. However, it's exciting because we women are stepping up to the plate. We are understanding our role and our place in times like this to make sure that we have a permanent peace with justice for our people so that we can move ahead into nation building. And with that said, that's why we had the conference last Sunday. And today we might probably touch on a lot of some of the highlights of that conference that our world-renowned speakers were there to present to us, educating us women as to our role and the importance of us being even involved in the forefront of this struggle, revolution, and even peace mediation.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Ma Winnie. That was really the reasons why the women stepped out there and calling on all those international guests that we had, women with experience, those who have sat on peace tables, those who have sat on conflict, those who have been themselves in the combat field. But then I remember very much the women went back to the history of why women should be at the forefront, talking of the UN resolution, talking of the Beijing conference. How can you relate this together?
Yeah. Beijing platform for women was actually a platform that was um, carried on by the name in Beijing, means that some treaties, some recommendations were put forth, and that was 25 years ago, and that women should be involved, and their goal is to get women involved and not be relegated to the background, but also to come in the forefront and let their voices be heard. In 20 years back, the UN actually came up with this resolution 1325. And some of the highlights of that was more about gender equality and gender issues. And with that, they wanted that every time there is a peace process or mediation, women should and girls should literally be represented, and their voices should be part of the process, not just sit in the background but be at the table. That is the key of why we women now we need to organize ourselves. We need to get our structures in place and put ourselves in a place where when that goes into place we roll on and not be trying to catch on later when the train has left off the station.
Yeah, that is very true, Mawini. I was from the preparatory meetings to the conference itself, and even with the women, they highlighted on advocacy, expanding space, and expanding knowledge. What is it that you can give to the Amazonian woman in relation to advocacy? What did it get? Where did they really emphasize when it came to advocacy, expanding space, um, and knowledge?
You know, before I will have to tie this with that UN resolution 1325, because in that resolution it is really enshrined that the gender perspective should be on any peace negotiation table. And even when it comes to funding, they should take into account funding platforms that will help women to be ready and be trained so that they can also be represented on tables, and their perspectives should be heard and be included in whatever international process of peace or mediation or negotiation takes place in conflict areas or war-torn zones. And that it's kind of like a 4-page document if you want that. But the whole idea of that 1325 resolution of the UN was to really get women involved, and um, women for peace, permanent peace and justice. We seized upon this, knew that Amazonia is going to be into a peace mediation, the Swiss led peace process. And so we need to start educating our women, bringing them on board, knowing that they have a place at the table, not in the back kitchen. Gone are the days where they will stay in that, that firewood kitchen that women used to stay in the
Yeah,
backside. And then they cook the food and go put it on the table. The men will eat and then they stay in the kitchen and they are talking. No, this time we cook the food, we all bring the food on the table, we all sit at the table, and we all have to decide about this. So, with that, I'm talking about advocacy. It's what we are doing now is advocating for the women to join, to organize themselves and bring themselves to a place where we will be ready to be on that table with the men. However, that's just one part of advocacy. Advocacy, what does that mean? It really just means that you are telling your story, telling others to know what your story, what you want, and what and
yeah,
speaking for those who cannot really speak for themselves, or representing those who have sent you ahead to speak on their behalf. That is one aspect, but there is another aspect. That aspect is we now as women. of Ambazonia. We know our story. We have our story. We need to tell others outside of just our domain to know that this is what we are advocating. This is what we want. This is what we stand for. This is what and where we are heading in this. All of it, we really want permanent peace with justice so that women are not in the bushes running with children, mothers are not burying their children, wives are not burying their husbands. There's just too much that women are
Yeah,
carrying in such things.
yeah. And then at the end of the day, after women must have gone through all this trauma, and when it comes to like um, sitting at the table for negotiations, and women will not be there because they are there to tell their own stories, to present it how they went through on first-hand narrative. So I think that it is really a call for every woman in Amazonia because I remember one of our speakers, I think it's Lopita, who emphasized that number matters. The number matters. How many women stand up for this advocacy to make their voice to be heard? Because referring to the fact that women already form 51 or 52% of the world population, and it applies the same to Amazonia. So in this time that even most of our men are being killed, women should be pushed to the forefront. And Tanya from Colombia, who was also one of those in the bush, also emphasized on all these things for women to stand up. Um, yeah, Mawini, I'm just putting my voice to some of the things that I picked also from the conference, which really gives me that I should also call out for women out there. And yeah, talking on advocacy, there was also something the speakers highlighted on implementing when it comes to advocacy. After advocating, implementing some of the resolutions or agreements that could be met, what can you tell the women out there to be getting ready for such processes when it comes to knowledge and yeah.
Those of us who are currently in diaspora, we are, I would say, we are just sent ahead. We have a different type of platform compared to our sisters, our mothers, our aunts and cousins who are back on ground zero. They are in the heat of the battle. Sometimes they barely can put their heads out. It's like somebody drowning. You put your head just up a bit to gasp and get a little bit of air because you don't know how to swim and you sink down further. So those of us who are here, we should be the ones throwing that lifeline so that we can reel them back to shore so that they can survive and not drown in the conflict as is going on right now. So, as we advocate, we sell our story, we convince the international community. There, in part of that, there is the aspect of pressure as women. We want permanent peace with justice so that our children can go back to school, we can go back to our farms, we can go back to our whether it's doing our petty trading or we're going back to work or teaching or hospital or nurses or whatever profession, whatever walk of life a woman is. We want to do that with real peace. And true peace does not come in the absence of justice. So we needed that. And to do that, we, the women who are now in diaspora, we should now start expanding the space. What do we mean by that? One of the speakers really hit hard on that, that we need to now start creating platforms to include other women from diverse
Mhm.
background in our community, whether it's their little Njangi groups or whether it's the women associations at church. There are many because we have different denominations. We start
Right.
bringing them in, reeling them in to see the importance of this feminine piece. They have it, they may be organized already as groups for other purposes and other, but we can now begin to show them the importance of us crying out, coming under a bigger umbrella, so our voices as women together will be heard, and we will be at that table with a stronger cause. We're not talking about some person cooking something and the side there, like La Republic likes to do, cook something and dish it out and tell you guys to go show this for show only. No, we want to say what we have, what is our concern, our children that cannot go to school, our husbands that are gone down, our brothers that are gone down, our even sisters that are gone down, because we also have, believe it or not, female combatants, those of them that have been raped. All those voices, they need to come into place. Our grandmothers that are burnt alive, including even our fathers, we are the ones now
Yes.
needing to advocate and provide a voice for them. So we need to expand this space to bring all these women, listen, so that we and hear and tell them and educate them, so that we can really know how to go forth and fight this uniquely as one voice of women, making our concerns known, not only at negotiation table, but also in the international community, so they know that this, we are bearing the brunt. I remember when this all started, I remember the woman in Mampe who delivered twins and she died, and another lady had to pick up those babies, and they were fleeing to ground one, just to, it was another woman to take care of this child. She wasn't the mother, but the mother died, and another woman will step in now to step. So we are our sisters keepers. So we need to expand this space to bring more women in.
Yes. Thank you, Mawini. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Amazonians, fellow viewers, we are on the horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman on ABC TV. You are watching right away. It's like a recap, it's like a mini rebroadcast of what really happened on Sunday, the 20th, during the Women for Permanent Peace and Justice conference that was screened on ABC, on Facebook, and on YouTube, and many of you were able to take place to participate. We are appealing to you, um, from the cries from the other ladies that came. It is our numbers that do matter. Mawini has already said it. Whether you are in your small jangi group or whatever group like a woman, this is the time for us to start coming out and putting our voices and our faces for those our mothers and sisters and aunties out there. Mawini, you equally had something to say to the women that made it possible that day, the women on ground one, on ground zero. You have something for them. Could you just go ahead and
For our ladies, our sisters, our mothers, our aunts that are on ground zero, we've been hearing of some of the feedbacks that you're giving on social media. And we want to thank you guys. If you guys were not there, we cannot be here to do what we're doing here. We want to thank you guys all. We just say thank you for staying connected. Thank you for participating, watching. Even those who watch the reruns, whether it was on ABC or it was on Facebook, for all the encouraging words that you guys and comments that you left. We really want to say this is a good time for us to all emphasize the importance of us rallying together as mothers, as sisters, as daughters, as wives, to also advocate for what is strong and that which concerns women. Besides talking about expanding um, the space, I want to talk about one other key thing. Another expansion is expanding our knowledge. Uh, to expand our knowledge. If we didn't have this problem, I would not have even known about the UN Resolution 1325 about women.
1325,
Yes,
right?
1320. We would not have known about it. But because we have an issue that is making us now to start expanding our knowledge, reading about things that affect us as women, And so with that said, we want the women to come under the bigger umbrella so we can work. But we know that sometimes it sounds intimidating that, hey, I'm gonna go sit at a negotiation table to speak, and these men are there who are all knowledgeable. They are well educated. No, 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 that's not the key. The key is we come under our umbrella, we set our issues, set our agenda, we get educated how we can present our issues too on that table. There is, I would say, there are many organizations out abroad or in diaspora that would help us get all this. As we organize ourselves, then they will come alongside to help train us, give us the information, teach us what we need to do. And all but they cannot sell our story. They can just teach us how to get our facts organized and to present it in a manner that is um, I would say, receivable on the table of negotiation. Because whether you go to school or you're not, you are educated or not educated, there is something in your heart that you feel you want to accomplish. There is something in your heart that you want to see your children accomplish. But with all this going on, there is no way you can accomplish that. So how do? You come and tell your story, then we know how to put that in the writing and the format that will be carried forward. So that is important. Um, with this said, I remember Tonya. Everybody liked Tonya
Yeah.
because she is a
Yeah.
woman that was an ex-combatant and she was
Right.
involved in. While the circumstances of their own conflict is different from ours, but there was one thing. She said when she went to the table of negotiation, she was one woman on this side and there was another woman on the other side of the government of Colombia. And what she didn't realize was that that was not acceptable because they didn't know. They didn't know. So we are even better placed today that we are learning about these before we ever get into negotiation so we can organize ourselves. Granted, the men are way ahead of us. You know why? Because they started getting this training before us. They started organizing. Yes, and who declared war? It was a man. The men do the war, we the women suffer, and then we are
Women
now
too.
trying to catch up. Yes.
Yes, my Winnie, that is really true. I will hardly ever forget Tanya's story. She really emphasized and encouraged women that the war, and that same day we were very pleased. Uh, um, we were honored to have audios from our female combatants who are also at the forefront. That aspect also from their audios, they made us to understand that they are not that they picked up the guns and went to the war front because of not just it's a man's thing, because a woman can equally do it. So in as much as the women are also picking up their defending the nation, defending their womanhood and their children, it is a call for the women out here in the diaspora. You ask yourself, what are you doing to bring peace where people have been scattered as refugees, as prisoners, as displaced persons roaming the streets of Amazonia and all over the neighboring countries. So it is really an appeal for us all women to do something. Ma Winnie, I will continue to talk to you because I would just like you to give a little highlight on the Swiss talk, because some women equally say, what is the Swiss talk? We do not have an idea. We don't know what is going on there. What is the team act? And all these um, words that some people may not understand. Could you just take a time and say something to it? Thank you.
ACT is actually Team Amazonia for short to make people understand and make people just, it's Team Amazonia. These are the frontline groups or Amazonian frontline groups that believe in the total self determination of the people of Amazonia that have come together and agreeing to work so we can go into negotiation with La République du Cameroon, and this is being mediated by the Swiss government. That's why it's called the Swiss-led peace or Swiss-led process. This there is nothing that says this is not. I don't know. Some people on social media tell the world and try to discourage other ambassadors. That for a fact, it is alive and well. And if we don't prepare ourselves today, because somebody told you it was not there, we will be taken aback. We will find that it is too late for us to prepare ourselves when it's time to talk. So we want to start taking this time. While we talk about the women in ground zero, the Njangi groups, equally the women on ground one in the refugee camps, they too can organize themselves, come under this umbrella, will reach out to them. There are many avenues for us to be able to reach out to them so that their own voices too will be heard. So we need every woman. If we could gather all of the women that think and want to us to move into Boya with our independence as a self-determined people for self-governance, and believing that we need a permanent peace dealing with the causes of this conflict in the first place. From that point of view, then we can work under this umbrella. Yes, we've had some women groups that have made some audios on social media and say they want peace, peace, peace. But honestly, peace cannot be without justice. If you just let people slaughter and kill people and get away with it, and then you come and say, "Oh, let's make peace," you've just you've just tilted the balance of what they call the scale of justice, and you will not have true peace. You will not be able to build true bridges. You will not be able to have trust. Your next door neighbor, if they've hurt you so badly and they came in and keep stealing, breaking into your house, for you be to develop a relationship, there will have to be some place where you sit and you talk, and then you fix the things. And then if they have stolen your stuff, they pay it back. If you need to put a fence, you put a fence. If your lock was broken, then they'll pay to repair the lock. So all those are different ways, and you can sit at peace with your neighbor. Just think about how many times they have so-called land dispute in back at home, and people slaughter themselves over land dispute. If there's no other authority that comes to settle that thing, that land dispute continues, and you have continual um, um, tension. So the Swiss government that has taken
Mawini,
this. Yes.
Mawini, can I just break in? A caller is coming in.
Okay.
Hello, hello, hello.
Good afternoon, Rachel.
Oh, yeah. Good afternoon. This is that my patients?
Yes, so, I always have to call and show support for my beautiful sisters.
That's
My name
true.
is Dr. Lee. Thank you for following up the week's program regarding topic for TPJ. I just wanted to add to it that so we all agree that it's time for Amazonian women, mothers, sisters to come out of the shadows and join this peace study. Historically, as Mawini has said, men tend to dominate all the former roles that have to do with peace building. So you see men as peacekeepers, you see men as peace negotiators, you see mostly male politicians, you see mostly male former leaders that are in the spotlight. So it's clear that power is so inequally distributed between men and women, but the majority of the women are the ones that suffer the most. Majority of women do not have voice at all in any local, state, in national and international decision making processes. Because of great inequalities, you find formal peace building activities, the policies make it because women are not represented, they don't have the benefits of getting solutions that address their issues, their concerns. So the best thing we should do as women is to join in all aspects so that we can have a holistic solution, something that has both the voice of the men and the voice of the women. So I'm encouraging all the women of Amazonia in ground one, in ground zero, all over the diaspora, so to make sure that they join this train that is called Women for Permanent Peace and Justice, because power speaks volume, and together we will get the peace, the permanent peace and justice we need for Southern Cameroons. I pray you guys have a wonderful show, and thank you so much for your contributions today. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Thank you, my patience. Thank you very much. The mama of the house always remembers us and calls us to encourage us. Not only
Thank
us here, every other woman all over. Yes,
you.
Mawini, over to you. We were on the spoke and act and women and yeah, the different kind of peace. So
As earlier said, we want the women involved. And for the women to be involved, we need to organize the women. We need to encourage the women. And that's why we are here. That's why we have Women for Permanent Peace and Justice. We just started and we are just beginning, and we will get a stronger force as each one of us sisters, mothers, we join and encourage our daughters. Because one thing that is even important is that resolution 1325 also addressed the issue of combatants and ex-combatants with female combatants, how they should be treated so they can reintegrate once peace is in place. It addresses so many gender issues that is so tight with us women, so that our voices, it empowers us. That's the literal word. It empowers us to know that we have the backing of the UN as we move forward, even with um, getting on the, let me call it the high table, where it has been solely the men, but now we're getting on that high table to make sure that they know that we have special needs, we have children, we have husbands, we have our needs that are also unique to us as women. And honestly, there was one speaker that said, I don't, if I remember her name, which one, she said something that there was a study that was done. I think it was Salman, if I'm
yeah,
if I can.
I'm still a man. Yeah.
Yes,
So
Salman said that the statistics show, yes, it was Salman. That
yeah,
statistics have showed that 35% of peace processes that involved women, that women were engaged in the process, have stayed and sustained for over 15 years.
right.
So, what does that tell you? That when women are part of the fabric of in mediation and negotiation, they put what is relevant and important, because by nature we are nurturing. The way we are, we are more nurturing. I don't want to paint all women with the same brush, but we really want to see that as a community, as family units, we thrive and we can get ahead. So we don't want to see conflict sustained forever, because it puts us at disadvantage. Why? How does it? Think about this. In many places, that resolution 1325 also states about during conflict, girls and women that are raped, there's even some exclusion as to when they start trying people for war against um, humanity and granting amnesty, amnesty should not be granted for those kinds of crimes. So there's just too much a rich resolution that favors us. So I will appeal again, our sisters. We're not only looking to be at the negotiation table. There is something that is very critical. It is after the peace negotiation. Um, Tanya said something. It's just a piece of paper. It's just a piece of paper that people can sign on. But what happens after that? Implementation.
Yeah.
And how do we strategize as we go forward? We advocate, we negotiate, and then we now have to come to implementation. And that is the hardest and most difficult part. So the guarantors that they had in their case in Colombia was Cuba and one nation in Europe, but it was fully not, it was never
No,
really implemented. No,
Cuba and
no way. Yes, yes, but it was never implemented. So it was one-sided. So if we as women now, remember, she said she was the only one on the table when they drew their first agreement. Other women groups came up and said, so they had to go back to the drawing board to rewrite the negotiation terms. But what they failed because they were not educated was in the implementation phase. So it was not appropriately implemented because they did not know how it had to be monitored, how it had to be implemented, and their voices were not heard strongly. So we now, as women, not only are we going to sit there, but we should also be the watchdog asking that, hey, this was agreed on. Why is this not being followed? Why is this not being implemented? So implementation was one of the other big issues that is what lasts for a long time to keep peace. And once the justice is served and peace is put in place, implementation of the terms of that peace agreement is what is really critical and really um, important to keep that process and to keep that peace in place.
yeah, thank you, Ma Winnie. I am just very happy because we are talking about process and implementation. There was one thing that was also emphasized: women of all walks of life, women of all age group. It shouldn't just be the women of this age group now, because we don't know how long it is going to take, and if the implementation has to be follow a stream, a lined up, then we women of today of 20 should be there for the next 15 years, for the next 30 years, to make sure that that piece of paper don't just remain a piece of paper, but it is in effect carries out what was put down on that piece of paper. That is why the women for permanent peace are calling out for every woman. Don't say no, I am 19, I'm just 19, I'm just 18, I can't do anything. The next 10 years are in your hands. You will be 29. The next 20 years, you will be where you will be talking and taking the responsibility for the foundations that are being laid today. So it's not just because we are talking here. Some people may be thinking that, now then they go in front, or maybe the key go. No, you will be the one to carry the basket, carry it and hand it over. You carry the baton, you will give it over. So please, women of Amazonia, we are talking of a homeland that all of us are crying, where culture has changed hands. Women are burying children, digging graves. Women are repairing homes. Since when did that one start? So when we are talking of peace, it's not a peace that is taking us to the left. It's a peace that is taking us to the right hand side. A permanent peace that is going to last for the people of Amazonia. Please, women and countrymen, don't get confused out there. When everyone is crying of peace, search the peace. Peace is coming from the only negotiating table that we have today in Switzerland. So, Ma Winnie, without taking much of our time, we equally have to talk about the training and education of women. So, what do you have to say in reference to future conferences and all the like?
The good thing is, Women for Permanent Peace and Justice. You could see the world class of panelists that we had in our conference. Just as we have that, we are also blessed that we have connections to be able to bring diverse groups, diverse people in the international community that would be able to help train us. So in the future, we plan to hold more conferences. Some will be educational conferences. But there's one thing that we can bring world-class speakers, but there's one thing the world-class speakers will not do for us. They will not organize us. They will not get us involved. That is left for us to do ourselves. The Salomon said something. We should be organized from grassroots. What does grassroots mean? Whether you are in the refugee camp, whether you are in ground zero, whether you be that mommy when I buy and sell them, even when I sell, when I two, when I gather, when I sell, whether that when I small get group or when I get and whether na for make una money for do business, all una gather una self, una come under the umbrella, the big umbrellas. They go train we, they go provide all the training what we need am. But with the no can drag we say more can join the group. They not fit. Now we system get for choose see say it be important. I dey talk now for pidgin so that make all will mammy them, whether you be buy and sell or what to. Sometimes wisdom not there now because we go learn am for book. Wisdom dey by for the thing what we don't see am, what we don't experience am, and then you begin teach your pikin them. Some of the people the way they know the most book for the world, their mommy and their papa sometimes say they not even know for read book because they not be get the opportunity. But so book for school fine, but we also get for no say some sense they will go with the that one what they call and say common sense. So for common sense, it shows say now we get for organize because when we organize ourselves, we come under the big umbrella, we go plenty, and then when we want talk, they go see and say, hey, the women they plenty, oh, they get power. More will talk for, more will listen for where they talk. So we therefore put every mommy, every pikin, every sister in interest for we heart. There's another appeal I will appeal is to our men. Encourage your wives, encourage your daughters, encourage your mothers. There is no age limit to this. Encourage them to be part of this. Let them start joining to spearhead and move ahead. So for us to see the Amazonia that we want, we have to be part of it. Because Amazonia is not going to be run only by men. Men are not the only ones living in Amazonia. Women live in Amazonia. Children live in Amazonia. All grandmas live in Amazonia. Young babies live in Amazonia. So we need everyone. So men, our brothers, our fathers, our husbands, encourage your daughters, encourage your wives, encourage your sisters to come and be part of this. So with one strong voice, we can speak, we can exert pressure even on the international community to make sure that all what is done gets implemented and implemented not only to favor men but to balance it so that there will be gender equality in what we do.
Yes, Winnie, I don't know if you remember there was some. Oh, I think yeah, Salma that also talk of sponsor and donor groups. Do you remember something on that you can use to educate the women when it comes to peace processes and encouraging women from grassroots?
There are fundings available in let me put it this way, in the international community that will
Right.
support women if we organize and go in. But they will not just come and dangle you that money or those dollars in front of your house and say, hey, here we have money. When we organize, we will seek those funds. When we seek for those funds, they will see what we stand for and where we are going, and they will support us. Sometimes they may support us by providing training, and sometimes they may support us by giving us, it may be that we need a, they may think that we need, let me use this for example, they may see us, we write our document maybe in a general common way, like me and you go write, and they think that, hey, they need to get this put in a legal manner with terminologies and wordings. Then they may provide us that legal mind that will be there to help. Yes. Marriage, I don't want to forget something very important. I'm looking at our
Mhm.
time is running, but there's something important that we equally did. We had a fundraising project on that day because we did not
Yeah.
want to forget our widows that are on ground zero. Um, they have orphans,
Yeah.
and some, I think, in ground one. I don't think we will end this fundraising. We did not end the fundraising. It's still ongoing. We had a purpose that we will have this fundraising to support our widows on ground one and ground zero, sorry, ground zero, so they will be able to start doing something to self-sustain themselves, so, and their children or their families. So it's very, very crucial and important that we bring this funding, and we are still appealing the funding. The fundraising process is still on, it's not yet closed. Yes, we raised some money on the day of which was on Sunday of that conference, but it's still ongoing, and it's not going to be a one-time thing and stop. It's going to be continuous because the needs and the demands on ground zero are enormous. Many women who have lost husband, lost even children. Some have children. We had an example of a mother who spoke that day of how she's struggling with her son now, who who was shot in the head, and now he's disabled, and the cost of just maintaining that son is just astronomical. So there are projects that we are going to continually doing. The Department of Women's Affairs for the Federal Republic of Amazonia interim government spearheads this. The Women for Permanent Peace and Justice come alongside so that we can keep moving and getting some of this support that we need to reach out to widows. Today, if we may be looking at widows, tomorrow it may be orphans that need to go to school and we need to pay school fees. Who knows? So the needs are astronomical. Please, I appeal, continue. And just like you see what they're talking about, the humanitarian draft is on Sunday, and that will take care of some needs everywhere, every time, and every opportunity we have to raise funds to help our people back on ground zero or ground one. We will use that platform to do so. Thank you.
Yeah,
Maricha.
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mawini. Thank you very much because you have really elaborated on the Amazon on the Southern Cameroon Women's Widows Empowerment Program. I would just also want to add my voice to this to let the women know that they are not forgotten. They are not forgotten, especially the widows. We know what it means when an elderly son is not there, when the husband is not there. And this is not only just to give them money to eat today and be there, be hungry tomorrow. It is money that has been set aside, has been given to them, that will be given to them in small groups so that they work together like in micro projects, maintaining sustainable plant or workshop or income making businesses that will sustain them for a while and keeping them busy. So to wipe away their tears, take away their burden, take away their trauma and all those things so that they will not be staying at home and be mourning all the time. So it is just like, as Mawini has said, it is an open end thing. It's not a one time thing, because as long as the war is going, God forbid that we will continue having widows. But if it comes at our doorstep, the women in the diaspora, those that God have blessed, please remember your sisters whose husband's life have been cut short and they are burying them, their children have been killed. Please, we should all try and remember them, add our names to the list, and do something for these sisters. It is a call for every woman, every man to support the widows back home. And Mawini equally also spoke about the humanitarian draft. This is a very big project. It is a very, very big project that you and I have to really take it seriously. It is no history, no story. It's no longer news that we have refugees or prisoners in their numbers who are lacking even food to eat, who do not even have where to lay their heads. It's no longer news. We are in different fora where we get messages, we receive, we forward, we share, we see videos, we hear, listen to audios. It's no longer news, my brothers and sisters. On this Sunday, the 27th of September, next Sunday, today is Friday, tomorrow is the day that you will come. Please, let's all come out in our numbers and make this draft a successful one. It is a call for the nation. Mawini, it is something we can keep talking, talking, talking. It's not that our
Yeah.
people are not hearing, but it's how it burns us, it extra us. We really want to. So Mawini, talk again.
Yeah, there's
Talk
something
again.
that that was really important. Thank you, Ma Rachel. There was something that came back out of that conference, that the issue of permanent peace, I say, and justice is not the issue of just silencing the guns. It is beyond that. It's also redressing the injustice, inequality are equally represented at every level, from grassroots all the way to the top level of, I would say, governance, administration, whether it's in NGOs or whether it is in the government structures, whether it's participation in political arena. That is what is important. Um, Salma said something. He said when they were negotiating for their own process, they had to negotiate with their government and said, hey, guess what? We need at least 35% water for women to be involved in different structures and levels of leadership within the government and political arena. That was the minimum. It wasn't the cap. It was the minimum. So, and from there they could go up, but they could not fall below that. So these are some things that, like I said, when all is said and done, it's gonna end up being win-win for us women. So let's come together as sisters. Let's come together as mothers. Let's come together as daughters, as wives, and help build a strong coalition umbrella, that we have power to get onto that negotiation table and put our stamps. One of them gave an example of what happened in Liberia. I don't wish to repeat how it happened. How the Liberian women put their foot on the ground and said they were not going to do this until all the peace was negotiated, and before they could happen, before anything could happen. But guess what? Um, I don't know how much they were involved on that table, but they went on a strike. They went on a matrimonial strike in the homes.
Right.
Yes. So, but we are not going to get to that place because the harm that has been done, the injustices that have been done to us, is equally affecting our men. But although the women carry the bigger brunt of it, think about back at home. A woman has 5 kids. She and maybe they are like 10 and under, and this is happening. They have to run in the bushes. Guess who is going to be running, carrying when the child is hungry and crying, beat by mosquito, has fever, malaria in those bushes? Who are going to be the ones staying all night? It's the mothers.
Ma Winnie, do you know that recently, I think 2 or 3 days ago, when the military invaded one village in the southern zone, the Soka village, they killed 5 young men. And the following report that came, one of the mothers died out of shock. She saw her son bleeding to death and dying. She could not take it, and she just collapsed and died. So the
This
thing
does
is now, you know, not just it is getting out of hand, for which any woman who have not yet stood up for the peace of Southern Cameroon, for the peace of Amazonia, for homeland Amazonia. We are talking peace. It's not just a peace that will take us to say you cannot go back and marry your raper. You don't go back to marry that person that has been raping you. When we are talking, it's a kind of, is that peace that will take, permanent peace that will take you home, where you will start managing your own affairs and you start mourning your dead ones. We start taking the data and we gather the bones and everything. It is going to be a long and belaboring process, but I think that it is worth it when people know that this is the key to my house. I can open when I want and I can close when I want, because the atrocities are really, really, really going out of hand. And I hear also
yes.
that some women in Bamenda are planning as from October to go out there to say enough is enough of the killings, because it is really getting out of hand. So the Women for Permanent Peace and Justice is calling every woman out there, be calling for a peace that will take you home. You know where the difference when you go to your friend's home and when you go to your home. We all know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It is.
oh God have mercy.
No matter how comfortable and nice your friend is, your real comfort and relaxation is in your own home. And so we need all our mothers, our sisters, to be able to go back home and not have their children grow up in a place where only guns are being heard, and children just grow up hearing all this pap 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 sound and just thinking that that's the normality of life. That is not the normality of life. The normality of life is that children can grow up with the aspiration, whether it's a boy or it's a girl, that tomorrow, if I choose I want to be president of Amazonia, I can be. If I want to be an astronaut, I can be. I want to be a teacher, I can be. I want to be a physicist, I can be. And that can only happen in the construct of us having real, permanent peace with justice for our self actualization, and, and just being there to let each one of us be there to help each other as we grow and as our children grow up, to take over as we pass them the baton.
Winnie, you just made that statement and it brought me, some months back on the horizon, we were discussing the educational system for the Amazonia we are fighting for. You just made a statement referring that your child wants to become a physicist, and I remember the panelists, they emphasized on the educational values, the right of a child, what the child should know, those Anglo-Saxon background for children to know how to choose their leaders and to vote and all those things. And you know where we are coming from All the lies we've been living in for the past years has just made people to just live a kind of mediocre life where people just accept things, people just give in to things, and they don't have that zeal or to even argue out things, but we all have come out here, and from the background that we have in those days when people say, this one as I said, this one a really British man, may I just put on so. There are some of
Mhm.
those cultures that some people still have, those that were born in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, they still remember, it's still in the bloodstream. All what we need is good and strong, powerful institutions and good governance that will guide people to bring these our little children that are suffering in the bushes today to have a better future. Because if we let this thing crack, if we let this thing go back to where God alone forbid knows, what is the story we are going to tell the children that have were born into the bushes? What are we going to tell them? What is the legacy we are leaving them for? What posterity? It is something that everybody should really sit and ask themselves, because we've become so comfortable in the white man's land, forgetting that white people also really fought. Those in America, if you know the American War of Independence, those in Europe will know the World War One and World War Two. At least if we did not hear them, we've seen something like that in the movies. And we've also seen movies for the future. Is it just that you want to be in a place where nobody will ever know of you? Even look at the current African continent. If you travel to other countries around your own country, you will still think that maybe it's a mini diaspora, mini Europe or America. But if you go back from where you are coming from, even some people said the third road that they had in those days in southern Cameroon or in West Cameroon, they have been scraped off. So where are we heading to? It is a question that we should all ask ourselves, Mawini. I don't know. You people are sitting in the peace process. You are talking about it. You know more of it. Um, you have an understanding, and I will just give up to you now to just give a roundup encouragement to the women out there. Why I come in and make a roundup statement as well, Mawini.
Thank you. Since the our target and our audience was to get our women today, I really want to appeal. Whatever knowledge you will gain, learn from being part of the Women for Permanent Peace with Justice, it will help you to educate your children, not only your sons, but also your daughters, to be able to know that, hey, you have rights, and here are the rights. You can demand this right, so that you are there was something that we had, but growing up, was it children are to be heard, to be seen and not heard. No, now things have changed. Children are also to be heard, because even that resolution talked about children playing a role, young girls. So this is not the time. No woman left behind, no girl left behind, no child left behind, no boy left behind. Equally, no man left behind. So, what am I saying? We are now coming to the point where we all equally have to come to a table as a family to talk, to negotiate with the opponent, and to fight our opponent, or to negotiate peace with our opponent, so that we can have a better and a peaceful lives that will help our children grow with confidence, and also be able to stand up for themselves, and to establish and know that our parents stood for this. Our fathers in the back said, "Oh, they left this fight. They say our children will fight for it," and we have rightly termed ourselves the never again generation. What does that really mean? We as mothers, We're never going to leave our children to fight this kind of a battle again. We want to get there where we have permanent peace with justice, so our children will continue to build a nation on that structure and not be left behind and not be put at a disadvantage where our most of our people don't need to be running out to in different parts of the world thinking that the grass is greener there. No matter how well you do, we need to come back home and build it for the betterment of every Amazonian. Thank you, Marija.
Yes. Thank you, Mawini. Thank you very much. It is,
Thank
we
you for
require
having me.
patience from one another. Patience, because some people might be hearing us talking of peace. They will say, I cannot make peace with these people. I cannot make peace. Let's just leave. Let them leave. It is all what we wish. They should just leave. But as history has put it, as statistics has registered it, everything is a process. You go through it so that you can have that permanent peace. Because if you rush into something, you will surely rush out of it. So we need patience to go with it, follow the process, so that at the end of the day, we will say it was worth it. But as we are crying for peace, we have casualties.
Mhm.
Humanitarian draft. We will not forget, we reiterate it over and over. Telethons have started since Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today is Friday. We are still talking about it. The program is certainly coming after this to remind us Amazonians to come out on Sunday, the 27th, and dip our hands and support our people in need. So we want to thank you all very much for taking time to be on the horizon today, the voice of the Amber Woman on ABC TV. We love you all and we appreciate the time you give to the ABC. Continue to pay your ABC draft. Continue to support the ABC Amber Club. Continue to pay your CID, uplifting the institutions of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia interim government with Dr. Sako. It is a pleasure that we are all fighting for homeland, and we wish you all a pleasant evening, and we hope to see us again. God bless us all. Goodbye. Mawini, thank you.
Thank you too.